We love our pets here on CityCast Boise, and we all want to give them the care they deserve, including our aquatic friends, which is why we're excited to talk about Fly-In Vet. Fly-In Vet makes house calls and can help with any fish health or water issue. You'll get excellent care for your pets from Dr. Becker, a board-certified aquatic veterinarian. Make an appointment today. Call 208-260-0327 or go to flyinvet.com. That's flyinvet.com. Today on CityCast Boise. Home sales have slowed to a crawl across the Treasure Valley, leaving buyers skittish and sellers frustrated. Uncertainty in the economy and shaky jobs numbers are adding fuel to the fire. So we're unpacking what this moment means for prices and where there might be opportunity for anyone who's still hoping to land a home. It's Thursday, September 18th. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Joining me today is Michael Miller, co-founder of HomeFound Realty Group. Thanks so much for being here.
I'm so excited to be here, Lindsay.
Last time we spoke in the spring, things looked fairly strong. You were pretty optimistic. So what's changed since then in the local and national housing market?
Oh, God, it feels like a lifetime ago. I am forever an optimist. So even when things are tough, I know that that's because it's going to open up the door for things to get better. But you're absolutely right. It is pretty tough right now. We have had fewer real estate transactions in the last 2 years and this year than the housing bubble crisis.
Really?
So less transactions, less buyers getting out there buying homes than the crash in 2008. We've had that for 3 years now, 2023, 2024, and this year.
Wow. Okay. So if you could sum up the Boise housing market right now in like one word or one phrase, what would it be?
Molasses.
Okay. Maybe like January molasses or July molasses?
Sort of just like there's not a lot of motivation. Buyers they have a lot of options. There's 2 or 3 homes for every buyer in the market. So as a seller right now, if you're out there and you're not getting any showings on your house, or if you're getting these really crazy lowball offers, you're not alone. That is what we are seeing consistently across the board. And, a lot of that is because interest rates are super high, right? We'll see what happens with Trump's economy. But interest rates have been high, so that has pushed out the first-time home buyer. First-time home buyers are at an all-time low.
Wow. So it sounds like it's a buyer's market. The interest rates are high. And any trends there we can expect, or does it just seem like it's just going up or holding steady?
Well, we have seen some good news recently in terms of interest rates. So the Feds had promised us that we would get 4 cuts this year. And up until their last meeting, we hadn't seen any of them. And now what we're seeing, and this is a really cool tool for people out there. It's online. It's the CME FedWatch tool. It's a totally free service. And it's a group of economists who do predictions on what the Feds are going to do. And they're predicting that we might get all 4 cuts before the end of the year. So it's really important to remember that the Fed fund rate doesn't directly correlate to mortgage rates, but the confidence that the markets have that rates may come down could affect mortgage rates. And for most of this year, Lindsay, I've been seeing like 7% interest rate. And so for a first-time home buyer, let's say you're just trying to get a $400,000 house, which is kind of the new normal for maybe like a 2-bedroom. For a $400,000 house with a 7% interest rate, if you're just doing 5% down, it's a $3,000 payment.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of painful, right? So that's why we've lost a lot of our first-time home buyers, because renting is almost half that.
Yeah. So what is the mood? It sounds like, we've got a buyer's market, but houses seem to be sitting. Interest rates are not maybe where people would hope they would be. I don't know anybody who's happy about 7% interest rate. What's the general mood that you're picking up from clients today?
Yeah, so it just depends on which side you're on, seller or buy side. We're in a market of the haves and the have-nots. You've either owned your home for a long time and have a ton of equity, or you have nothing and you're just trying to get in. So those people who have equity, and it's mostly the boomers right now, they have equity in their homes so that they can make moves in a high interest rate environment. They can sell with a ton of equity, withdraw out of it, and then put big down payments so that their payment's low. it's kind of this really funny cat and mouse game because we're like, when I talk to sellers, they're like, oh yeah, like the interest rates are going to come down. I'll just hold on to my price. I'm in no rush. And then buyers are kind of like, that price isn't working for me. They need to drop $100,000, and they're not afraid to go ahead and throw that in. And what we'll see is like, you'll get, if you're on the market, 2 weeks to a month, you're going to get a lowball offer, right? And so sellers really have to sit down and think like, what's more important, time or money? Because if you're waiting for that higher dollar amount, you're going to have to give a lot of time. And I'm talking maybe 12, 24 months. But if you need your money now, then you're going to have, or if you want to move right now, then you're going to have to lower your price.
That is so wild to me because it seems like even just a few, I don't know, I guess maybe a year ago, what is time anymore? People in the Treasure Valley were still getting those competitive multi-offer situations where a house would go on the market, you'd have people bidding it up, you'd have people selling for above asking price. And it sounds like that's not only gone, but not even realistic anymore.
No. And it was even in this last spring. You're absolutely right. We saw that similar sort of trend. I watch active inventory in Ada County every single week. We started off the year with about 1,600 homes on the market. And what's so interesting is sellers think that spring market is like March or April. But the real true market for a seller is January, February, when they have no other competition, when there's a low amount of inventory. So what we saw at the beginning of this year was actually sometimes really cute, well-priced homes would get multiple offers. But that time is like kind of fading behind us. And with so many options on the market, buyers can be super picky. And on top of that, Lindsay, and I think you know this, that new construction, like builders are offering huge incentives right now. CBH is giving like $25,000 on average to help buy down your rate and things like that. So new construction is beating out those existing home sellers.
So do you think with these great deals from builders, with interest rates, with, a buyer's market, do you think we're at the peak of buyers' negotiating power, or could conditions get even softer?
I'll tell you what I think. So what we saw in 2008, we saw record high real estate transactions. It was about 6 million in 2006. There's about 6 million transactions nationwide, right? That's a big number. Lots of homes sold. Then 2007, it was 5 million. And then the crisis hit. And for 4 years after the housing bubble crisis, we only had 4 million real estate transactions in the United States for 4 years, which is actually what we've seen right now. Is we have seen 3 years of record low real estate transactions. And so if history repeats itself and we can look backwards towards what happened in the housing bubble crisis, maybe we do have another year. But what is also true is that in the housing bubble crisis, people had no equity. And right now, 76% of Americans have more than 50% equity in their home. 36% of Americans own their home outright. So we're not seeing a lot of foreclosures. So that would be the one thing that would help bring prices down if people were foreclosing on their homes or if we had a record high amount of inventory, neither of which is happening. So we're sort of seeing this kind of like gridlock with sellers and buyers, right? But we are seeing interest rates trend down. I actually just saw like a 30-year conventional for 5.875.
Oh, okay. That's quite low.
That's not bad, right? Like your reaction. Yeah. Most people are like, oh, okay, curious.
I mean, it's not early pandemic rates, but I think for realistic rates, anything below 6 actually sounds good compared to where it's been for the past couple of years.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. With below 6 is when we see buyer activity pick up. And that might change a little bit just because pricing has gone up so much. We might need to see like low 5s for that first time home buyer to make it work. But you're right, 5.875 is not bad. And so when we've seen rates kind of fluctuate over the last 3 years, they'll go down and then they'll jump right back up. And so what we've seen in the last couple of months is they've actually gone down and stayed down. Job reports, gosh, that's a big part of the news right now, right? And they keep getting changed. And so the numbers are really, really bad. Inflation is okay. I mean, it's kind of holding steady, 2.5% should be the new benchmark anyways, I think. But with these sort of economic indicators that we're seeing, we potentially could see rates come down. And what I've also seen is that mortgage applications have risen year over year by 50%. So there's little buyers out there who are going to their lender and they're like looking at the payment, but they're not quite ready to jump in. They're still waiting for those interest rates to come down. So maybe they are trending downwards and maybe that buyer pool will jump in next spring, or maybe it'll take till 2027. But I will say it's impossible to time the market. Just time the moment. Like if it's right for you, the opportunity exists. Like get out there right now, find a good deal, because what goes down must come up, and ride that wave of equity as it comes up.
This fall, treat yourself to a trip to wine country in the heart of the Pacific Northwest. The Walla Walla Valley is home to more than 130 wineries, offering vineyard experiences and delicious wine tastings. Bonus, grape harvest is happening soon. Besides incredible wines, Walla Walla has a walkable, historic downtown core to explore. There's plenty of farm-fresh dining options, from celebrated chefs to treat yourself to. Go at your own pace around town, do as much or as little as you want. And here's a thought: September is a beautiful time to take a scenic road trip to Walla Walla, just 4 hours away from Boise. Go to wallawalla.org to plan your visit today. That's wallawalla.org.
Speaking of this economy, inflation, job growth numbers and how they keep getting adjusted, I saw a report on Business Insider that said a record number of first-time home buyers are actually withdrawing their applications. So like they'll look at homes, have one they want, submit an offer, it'll be accepted, and then they'll get cold feet or back out. Are you seeing that in the Boise market too?
Oh yeah. We've actually, and I've spoken to other realtors who've been in the business for 30 years. Like it used to be, you'd write a contract, you'd go into the inspection phase, and 95% of the time that went through. We have never seen as many back on markets as we're seeing right now. Buyers have options, and if they go under contract and they go see stuff on the inspection report, they could just easily cancel and go find something else. There was some interesting data that came out from NAR, the National Association of Realtors, and it showed what happened to your price as a seller with certain timeframes on market, and then what happened to your price after you've gone under contract. And basically what it just said is that not only are buyers backing out on the inspection, they're doing like crazy requests. I had an agent tell me today that the buyer asked for $100,000 just because they wanted to remodel the kitchen.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, ballsy, right?
Okay, so I'm going to guess the seller maybe didn't make that concession. Maybe they did. I don't know. I've heard stranger stories. But are sellers having to make concessions just to get the sale to go through with this market?
If they're smart and they need to sell, yes. You're going to need to give concessions. You're going to need to be the most attractive home on the market with so much other competition. That's not just price, that's closing costs, and that's during the inspection. So you really have to be buttoned up right now to sell and even get close to market value. I think I looked at the data last week. For the last 2 months, 20% of our market is dropping price every week. So 1 out of 5 homes.
I'm not surprised. I mean, I live in a good neighborhood, a good suburban neighborhood that we enjoy living in. And one of our neighbors has been trying to sell their home. Of course, I looked it up on Zillow just because I wanted to, I just want to see inside. And it's a beautiful home. And I thought the asking price was very fair, and nobody's looking at it. They've had multiple open houses. My kids wanted to go to one, so we did. And the realtor said we were the first people to come, and it hasn't, it's not moving at all. And I'm shocked. And that's one of the reasons I want to talk to you is it's just blowing my mind after watching the last few years that there's this super cute house, I think at a very fair rate, and nobody's interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have 6 or 7 listings everywhere from $400,000 to $2 million. And maybe one of them gets a showing a week. It's painful out there. It's a little scary. It's are the buyers are they gonna come back into the market? We do know that Boise's a great economy. We lead the nation in job growth and wage growth since 2020. So there's new people moving here with higher paying jobs. So potentially the demand is out there, but we're not seeing it. And I don't know what it's going to take for those buyers to come back into the market.
Well, and that's definitely something I wanted to talk with you about, because Boise's growth has been one of its defining stories over the past 5 to 10 years. We love to hate being, the number one city to move to like the past 4 years in a row. So do you think that these real estate trends suggest that the growth is slowing, or is demand still fundamentally strong?
Like I said before, I've seen mortgage applications go up. And when we do see really cute, well-priced properties, you still see multiple offers. I mean, it has to be really cute and really well-priced. But I see indicators of demand out there. When the Feds dropped interest rates and mortgage rates were at like 2%, we borrowed buyers from the future. And so we need to catch up on that buyer demand. But I think, what also is interesting is that we don't have enough inventory, period. Like, we don't have builders building enough homes for the amount of population that we have. The millennial generation, which is entering into their prime home buying years, they're all about to buy their very first house. So we have like the population potentially for the demand, especially here in the local economy. But it's this kind of like psychological waiting game. Like, everybody's just kind of waiting to see when the next best deal happens.
And that's definitely, I know talking about this, the number one question people always have is about affordability. When are the prices going down? And last time I had you on, we talked about how everybody wants, or lots of people want to be waiting for this bubble, but things aren't the same as they were in 2007, 2008. Do you think what we're seeing will lead to long-term impacts on pricing, or is this seasonal? Is this right now as people try to see what's going to happen with the Trump economy? Do you think that we will see housing become more affordable? Or like you said, we just don't have the supply to cause a huge impact on the prices?
Yeah, that's such a great point. There's two things that would bring prices down. A massive influx of inventory, which, like you just said, we don't have and are not likely to get, or a massive number of foreclosures, underwater homes. We don't have that either. But like, also 20% of the market's dropping price right now. So you can look at like long term, no, prices are probably not going to go back down to what people need them to be considered, air quote, affordable. But right now in the market, you might see 20, 30, 40, 50K off. So that's something. But we're not likely to see prices come down, 10, 20%, maybe a little bit, but not that big.
So what should potential buyers and sellers keep in mind with this market, how it is?
So if you're a seller and you're out there and you've decided to have your home on the market, you need to think about what's most important to you. Because if you are trying to go for what your neighbor sold for 6 months ago, you're probably not going to get it. Your buyer demand is not there. So you might need to wait another 12 months for another good market to hit. So if you're in the market right now and you need to sell, be the most attractive home on the block, and that includes price. And when it comes to buyers, I just don't know anybody who bought a home in 2008 that regrets it. It's like, if you can afford it, go out there and get a deal. Go get them. Sellers had a run up for the last several years. A lot of sellers have just gotten like 50% equity gains in their house in 5 years. That's insane. That will never happen again. So it is a little interesting watching these sellers trying to hold on to these prices when they're still killing it, So I don't feel necessarily so bad when I represent a buyer and I'm like, yeah, go get them. Go jab them. Go get 50K off. See how much you can possibly get, because there are sellers out there who are dropping.
Yeah, I mean, you could potentially ask for $100,000 for your kitchen remodel. You wouldn't be the first.
Yeah, it's such an interesting time to be a real estate agent, because, there's obviously the real estate waves that happen, the highs and lows of real estate, but the nuances of each transaction and working with people, because it can be really heightened emotionally. And like, sellers get so upset when they get a lowball offer, and they'll look at me and they'll be like, aren't you offended by this? And I'm like, I have an offer in front of you. I am ecstatic. Let's try to make it work, and it's okay if it doesn't. Like, there are some ridiculous offers out there, but if you truly need to sell and you've got equity in your home, cash out now, because here's what's also true. People who sell often have to buy. So if you're selling in a down market, you'll buy in a down market, and it kind of washes out. That's also true on the opposite side, right?
Yeah, I would say if you got a lowball offer, you could also be the person who asked for $100,000 for your kitchen remodel. You can be both.
I'm going to start seeing an influx of people across Boise asking $100,000, and they're going to blame me.
We could make a trend of it. I don't know. If we have to be known for something, that might be fun.
That's great.
Michael, I do think that the housing market and how people are responding to big purchases, people think about these kind of purchases. They are generally, I would assume, pretty thoughtful in their approach to real estate. And I think this can be a good indicator of buyer confidence or how people feel about the economy or how people feel about this area's economy. So even for people who aren't looking to buy or sell anytime soon, what do you think our local housing market signals about our local economy?
I would say that the local housing market right now is relatively stable considered to some other parts of the country. I mean, we're definitely seeing a pretty painful part in our market. But sellers are having to give up lots of price drops right now. But there are other markets that are doing much worse. So, when you're getting knocked down, the Boise's just not getting knocked down as bad as some other people. And additionally, what I look at is not just what affordability looks like, it's the lifestyle that you get here in Boise. I grew up here, and that sort of friendly neighborhood, just wave, it still exists. And I feel like in the world today, that is a commodity. That is precious. Finding the right neighborhood for you where you feel safe and that you are excited to live in, that's important. So numbers are one thing, affordability is one thing, but your lifestyle and what's important to you is the most important. So if you're a buyer out there and you want to be somewhere where you feel safe and you're feeling included, go make it happen.
Well, Michael, thank you so much. I know there's a lot of fear and doom and gloom around this market, and I do appreciate your very holistic approach to it. I think it covers a lot of ground and definitely gave me some things to think about. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to tell your friends about the show. We'll be back tomorrow morning with our Friday News Roundup. You won't want to miss it.